Hello, this is Library Director Laverne Mann with 3 books that I can recommend. We miss our patrons and can't wait for the library building to be cleared to open. The first book I'm going to talk about is Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. This book is about 2 college roommates, Lillian and Madison, who were roommates at a boarding school, but they came from very different backgrounds. And Lillian had to leave school in the wake of a scandal. So it's 10 years later, and Madison calls her up. She is the wife of a very prominent politician who's moving up in the government, and she asks Lillian to come help with her twin stepkids that would be moving in. The most interesting thing about them is that when they get agitated, they burst into flames. So over one long hot summer, Lillian and the children begin to trust each other. Lillian was leading a sort of dead-end life, and Madison lives with this buttoned-up politician, and it is white-hot wit and the big tender heart of Kevin Wilson, who is a Tennessee author. There's protectiveness and ingenuity on Lillian's part to take care of these children, and she finds she needs the strange children as much as they need her. Kevin has garnered a lot of amazing reviews for this book, and particularly for his previous book, The Family Fang, and there's a couple others in his titles, in his bibliography. The Dutch House. Many of you regular readers have already gotten to this, but Ann Patchett, who also is a current Tennessee author, she owns a bookstore in Nashville, Tennessee. But this book is the 5-decade-long story of a family and their lavish estate, the Dutch House, which is set in the suburbs of Philadelphia. After World War II, Cyril Conroy buys this house as a surprise for his wife, and the story is really told through the eyes of their son Danny and his older sister Maeve, who is very sarcastic and acerbic, but she's very self-assured, and they end up being exiled by their stepmother from the house they grew up in, and went from being very wealthy siblings to being in poverty who can really only count on each other. So through 5 decades, through humor and rage, they cannot overcome the past, and it affects both of these siblings through many decades, despite how they've moved on in their lives. And it digs into questions of love, forgiveness, how we see ourselves, and how we really are. So The Dutch House, of course, Ann Patchett has at least 10 novel titles that you may have come across before, and she's definitely a gem in literary fiction. A book that comes out March 12th is The Last Trial by Scott Turow. So this book goes back to familiar character lawyer Sandy Stern, Alejandro Stern, who was the star of his books Presumed Innocent and Burden of Proof. So this is a lifelong look back as he is drawn back into one last trial for a lifelong friend, Dr. Kirill Pafko. It's a legal thriller, of course, but it also has a lot of questions of mortality. How do you know if your life is well lived? How are your greatest achievements, put up against your worst mistakes? Sandy is 85 years old, has some health problems. He has built a firm with his daughter, Marta Stern, and he has a prickly, interesting granddaughter named Pinky that now works as a paralegal. So there's the family business. And it's also a medical thriller, like a medical farmer thriller. So it's a very modern case. It was pretty dense. It took me quite a while to get through it, but it was definitely enjoyable. The characters, the trial, the themes, and suspenseful. So coming March 12th, Scott Turow, The Last Trial. So find us on chplnj.org, our website. We put a lot of things for adults, kids, teens, lots of virtual programming now. Look for us on social media, Facebook, our Instagram, and our Twitter. And as a reader, if you want to join us in our Facebook group, Cherry Hill Reads, we'd love to see you there too. So thank you. Stay safe.